The cruise lines tell you if you don't book your shore excursions directly with them, you'll miss the ship. They're lying, and I'm going to prove it to you. In this video, I'm going to show you the proof, how you can save thousands on your next cruise. And stick around till the end because I'm going to reveal the one time that you absolutely must book directly with your cruise line. I'm Gary with Optimal Cruising. Let's get into it. I'm constantly hearing from cruise line staff and a lot of times even travel agents telling me that I have to book my shore excursions directly with the cruise line or I could miss the ship. And just the last cruise I was on, I was talking to a couple that I had just met, and I was describing to them this awesome experience I had on an independent excursion that I booked myself. And they too were like, I don't know if I would do that. I'm afraid, if something goes wrong and then we can't get back on the ship. And that got me thinking. So I went and did my own research. The truth is, there are almost no documented cases, zero, zilch, nada, of any independent shore excursion company causing cruise line guests to miss their ship. I went and did more in-depth research on the two companies that I use and the ones that I have links for in my description for all of my videos because I trust them, and they are Viator and Shore Excursions Group. These two companies have never had a customer miss their cruise ship. And in fact, people report back, and you can read it in the reviews and comments for Viator, Shore Excursions Group, that the tour operators are hyper vigilant. They know when the ship leaves, and they're very careful and conscious about getting these guests back to that ship well before that time to have a cushion in there should something go wrong, that they can get beyond that obstacle and still get people back to that ship in time. Plus, both of these companies offer major guarantees if you do miss your ship. It's almost a guarantee you won't, because they'll be out thousands of dollars if they cause people to miss that ship. In fact, this is just a huge scare tactic by the cruise lines, and it makes sense because excursions are a mega profit center for them. But as a caveat, I'm not suggesting that you don't have a plan, that you just get off the ship, find some local standing there with a sign of some sort of tour, and hop in the car with him. That's a little bit sketchy to me. But if you're booking with a legitimate third-party company, you really have nothing at all to worry about. You're not going to miss that ship. It hasn't happened. In fact, last year in 2025, the three most high-profile documented cases of why passengers missed their ship had to do with a natural disaster in Hawaii where a ship had to leave early and left passengers behind. And then there's this Holland America passenger that just went missing at a port of call. Had nothing to do with a tour not coming back in time, and she didn't make the ship, and it was a big investigation as to what happened to her. And then there were these two passengers who failed to get back to Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas on time. They were over 30 minutes late. They were on their own. They weren't part of any tour group, independent or otherwise. They just made bad timing decisions. And even the captain of that ship had waited 30 minutes for them and then had to leave. So they were even waiting for these guys that weren't part of any of their shore excursion, and they still came too late to get back on the ship. And this research isn't only my own. One of the biggest cruise vloggers out there, Emma Cruises, posts that the three biggest reasons people miss cruise ships have absolutely nothing to do with shore excursions. In fact, they have to do more with time zone issues and people not realizing that the time has changed at the port of call, or delays in traffic and public road issues that they weren't expecting and they're cutting it too close to get back to the ship. Or sometimes people just lose track of that all aboard time. They think it was at 5:30, but really it was at 4:30. Cruise lines don't want you to realize that you're just as safe booking with a third party than booking directly with them. And if you're still worried, if you book with a company like Viator or Shore Excursions Group, you're going to get a $1,000 guarantee, which means they'll not only pay to get you to the cruise ship at the next port of call, all of your travel expenses and overnight hotel expenses if necessary, but they'll also give you $1,000 for the inconvenience. That's a guarantee to me that means they're not letting anybody miss the ship. Now, I know that some of you out there are still convinced it's better to book with the cruise line. I want to know why. Put it in the comments below. I have saved hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on every cruise simply by booking my shore excursions directly with an independent provider. Now let's take a look at that math. So here you have a popular shore excursion on Grand Cayman, which a lot of people like to do. They see the stingrays, they get a beach break, do some snorkeling. And this tour offered by Princess is about $120 per person. The exact same excursion with Viator is half price. $60 per person. Yet, thousands of cruisers still insist on booking with the cruise line. And it's the same tour. In fact, the only major difference is, because I've done both of these tours with cruise line and with Viator, is that the cruise line tours are jam-packed. It might be a bigger boat, but it'll be filled with 60 people. Whereas the independent tours will have maybe 10, 15. It's a much more enjoyable experience, especially when you're going on a boat and getting off and snorkeling, and they're expecting you to stay within vicinity of that boat. If you got 60 people around you, you're constantly bumping into somebody. And this is the same case if you book a tour that's taking you somewhere to a city or somewhere to see some sites like volcanic sites. If you're in a bus with 60 or 80 people, it's not as enjoyable as being in a van with 8 or 10 people. And that's what these independent excursions give you. So in my opinion, not only is the price worth it, it's a better experience. Now let's look at a totally different type of excursion. So if you're doing a cruise to Europe and you're stopping in Barcelona, probably the most popular thing to do is go and tour the Sagrada Familia. And this is a tour offered by MSC that's $138 per person. Everything included, entry, tickets, transportation. And here you have the exact same tour with Viator that's $78 per person. Not exactly half price, but pretty close to it. You're going to find big price discrepancies like this at every port of call that your cruise ship goes to, and that really adds up. And I even picked here as my examples some more modest shore excursions. Some of them can be priced at $200, $300, $400 per person, and there the difference is even greater. But I'm going to go ahead and use my more modest numbers just to show you how much extra money we're giving these cruise lines for no added value. If I could save $60 per person for every excursion, let's say I'm going on a cruise with my wife, that's $120 savings per excursion. Let's say there's 4 or 5 ports of call and we do 4 excursions. 4 excursions times $120 means I saved $480 simply by booking independently. That's not money I just want to hand over to the cruise line. And that's a low amount. On some cruises, I'll save easily double that, if not more, because I'm booking more extensive excursions or excursions that are a bit more pricey. So ask yourself, what are you really getting for this extra money you have to spend to book with the cruise line? They're going to tell you, well, you won't miss your ship. But I just showed you that if you book with these independent providers, you won't miss your ship either. So have I won you over yet? Let me know in the comments below, because if you think that those savings are big, wait until you see what you can save by doing this next thing. I'll be honest though, I don't even always book shore excursions because I save even more money doing it myself. And there are a lot of ports where it's easy to do this. For example, if you're looking for a beach escape and you're going to San Juan or you're going to Belize, there are a lot of ways to either walk to a free beach, enjoy facilities that are already built there right at the port, or even book a day pass with a lot of hotels that are expecting these cruise ship passengers and send their own transportation to pick you up at the cruise port and take you back at whatever time you want. And if you're cruising Europe or the Mediterranean, a lot of these big cities are built for do-it-yourself. If you're going to Barcelona or Rome or Florence, you can map out what you want to do. Public transportation is great in Europe, and you can get yourself exactly where you need to go for very little cost and actually have a better time because you're setting your own itinerary. Now, there's 3 rules to follow if you're going to try a do-it-yourself itinerary. Number 1 is plan it out ahead of time. I always know what I'm going to do. I don't just show up at the port and try to wing it, because at that point, you can start getting into trouble, not really knowing where you're going to go, how you're going to get there, and you waste a lot of time. And time is crucial if you're doing this on your own because of the next point, which is that you want to get back to that ship 2 hours before you have to. I set that as a goal if I'm doing something on my own, because then if anything comes up, there's a kink in the works and I'm having trouble getting back. There was a time when I was doing an excursion on my own in Barcelona and I was trying to get back to the ship, and for some reason there was something going on and they blocked all traffic back to the ship. It took over an hour for them to clear this incident and open those roads again, but I still made it back in plenty of time. And then probably the most important thing is to lock your watch on ship time before you leave. Make sure you know what ship time is, because when they tell you all aboard is 5:30, they mean ship time 5:30, and it's not always the same as local time. So set your watch or manually program your phone with the correct ship time so there's no confusion and you're watching the time and you're getting back with plenty of time to spare. If you're interested in trying a do-it-yourself excursion, I have a lot of videos on various ports. Let me know in the comments where you're thinking of, and I'll send you a link or give you some advice if I have it. Now, so far, I've given you every reason in the book why you should never book a shore excursion with the cruise line. But there is one reason where it's an absolute must. I'm going to tell you about that next. But first, if you would, take a moment and subscribe to our channel. Hit that like button because it helps us grow and we'll continue bringing you cruising updates. I've been to a lot of tender ports, and they can either be no big deal or a major headache. And it all depends on when you go and how many other cruise ships are anchoring at that tender port. Because if you're in Belize and you're the only ship there, it's really kind of a breeze getting on and off that ship. But if you have multiple ships, or you're in Grand Cayman and there's 3, 4, 5 ships anchored offshore, it gets really busy. Sometimes you could be waiting hours from the time they first let people off the ship to get on that tender, depending on where you are in line and when you get your tender tickets. And this poses a problem for booking independent excursions, because if you're not just walking off the ship and finding your tour guide, you don't know for sure when you're going to get there. The nice thing about booking an excursion directly with the cruise line at tender ports is that in most cases, they will send a specific boat for your excursion to pick your group up and take you on that excursion. So for example, I've done this in Belize, and they sent a boat that's going specifically to Gulf's Cay. So you don't even have to go to the main port area where all the tender boats are going. They take you directly from the ship to your excursion and back to the ship. It's not only convenient, but it guarantees you won't be late for your excursion. And if you book independently at a tender port, it's possible. If you've ever been to Santorini on a cruise, they can have sometimes as much as 5 ships outside of this one little port area where they all dock. And if you have to get on a tender boat and get into that port area, you're not even at the town yet. The town is built up on a cliff. So you have to take this cable car up to the top of the cliff just to get into the town. And if you haven't booked an excursion with the cruise line, you could be waiting hours in line just to get up to the top. They'll usually take you on a boat somewhere else where you can get right into town or right into a bus that's going to take you to see the sights or whatever excursion it is that you booked. So while cruise lines charge a hefty premium for their own shore excursions, when you're docking at a tender port, it's definitely worth it. and I book them that way myself. Now, if you're thinking about a cruise, we maintain a list of the best cruise deals you can book right now. If you'd like a copy, just comment deals or click on the deals link in our description. So now that you're no longer worried about missing your ship, what about that cruise line drink package? Is it worth it or not? I'll tell you all about that right here.